Okay, so we're diving straight into some more matches. We've got to get these played. So, where are we at? We got another injury to deal with. Kind of feel like probably this guy is now in. And it's Longstaff on the bench. After this match, we got this guy back. To be honest, he's not that great at anything. He's just good for the. He's not conceptually like great. He's good for our. He's alright at the long shots for our specific role. He's definitely something we need to improve over time. I guess all I'm really trying to say here is I don't know if him returning without the other players is like enough, particularly without the left midfielder. Probably triggers changing all the tactic back yet. We're probably waiting 2 matches till the left midfielder back before we change everything around. So we'll probably play the next 2 matches of this tactic pending any injuries we get from the first match. And then after that, we'll switch it all back, hopefully. Obviously, depends on injuries and stuff. I think there isn't much that can happen that would totally scupper our plans. Yeah, there kind of is, to be honest. But we'll see. Let's see if our plans get scuppered. At this point, probably can just get rid of these guys because we're not. When we're deep into an injury crisis like this, we probably are just changing tactic now, like we did. So we get them back to the youth team. I was going to say can't send him to the youth. Probably won't use him, but he's too old for the youth team. So, right. I think we're just diving straight in. We're going with this again. So let's do it. I'll just check how we did against these guys last time. We didn't play them yet, is that right? Okay. Play them in a friendly. Nope. New opponent. Okay. So they are playing the sort of the starting formation, something. Again, encouraging that attack down the right, coming through, spilling to the striker. It's exactly the type of chance that is the bread and butter, so to speak, of the tactic trying to create. You can already see, like, this. You can already see that we've won the game. Like, even before that goal was scored, like, we can just know that we've won because their team is just not set up at all to deal with the threat that we pose. So we're going to score a few goals. same deal as the last match. Like if they just play deep defensive line, then it would change everything. But they're not. So in a way, I was hoping they would score to make it interesting. But yeah. Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we won't score any more goals. So I just got a feeling we definitely are going. We're going to have quite a lot of shots as well. Okay. I mean, yeah. I don't know if that. I mean, that was obviously a good. Not the type of goal that that could happen quite a few times, and you would only score it once. It's the type of chance we're happy to give up with the tactic sort of thing. So, but yeah, it has ended up a little. I mean, a little bit less lopsided than I thought. Well, let's see. It could end up quite lopsided yet. I think it's just the nature of this type of tactic. Like, it's kind of like nothing happens, and then boom, goal type of thing. So. It could still be the case that we score a couple more goals like that. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So, exactly what I'm talking about, basically. So you kind of like, you can't really measure like it's quite difficult to measure this type of. Yeah, you always just need to bear in mind if you're playing this type of tactic, like, it's less about into making decisions, like you're saying, like we could have thought, for example, if we weren't winning yet, it's quite hard to judge your potential threat level when like you sort of feel like nothing happened for ages, but it's really like you need to, it's a whole separate topic really. It's very hard to explain this, but I think might be able to get it from the comments that I'm inferring, like before, like it kind of felt like nothing was happening, but I was kind of saying, like, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, it's not about, so to speak, what's happening, it's about what could happen, and it's about, like, whether that, hit the post, like that. It's kind of like, almost again, just a goal out of nothing. So it's quite sort of different conceptually to tactics that are, like, building the play up more and passing the ball around and stuff, like, if those type of tactics are like breaking down early and you don't get the pass the ball around at all, you can kind of tell that like it's not working and changes need to be made. Like, it's more obvious. Whereas with this type of tactic, it's way less obvious. Like when it isn't actually working, because you can sort of like not create anything, and yet there's the threat exists there that you will just score at any moment. And trying to understand and know that is, I think, yeah, it might be something we try to cover more later. It's going to be hard to do in the context of this match because it's a massive conversation, I feel, that needs a lot of different examples and probably need to cover other concepts in it. But it's just something to, I think, bear in mind. Hopefully, if you are not completely lost what I'm talking about, then hopefully you might have enough. Maybe have enough there to think about it yourself and maybe work some of it out there yourself. But thing is, they've also posed some threat to us this match. I feel like another good chance, and their attacks were not sort of that route one sort of thing. Typically, they were a little bit more built up or like that through a set piece or something. So it is the type of match like where if they just set it to deep defensive line and maybe a couple other tweaks, like potentially they just win this match because all of our goals. Well, we had that long one, but potentially they do because they've kind of done enough that they could have scored, and with that deep defensive line, like maybe it would have strangled enough. I mean, obviously we're playing and we could have adapted and changed and so on and so forth. I'm just saying the opposition has sort of done enough that they could have scored, and with just having a defense sort of set up where we couldn't just score quite as freely as we did. Potentially that just means we lose this match. I'm going to sub this guy off because we've won it. And I sub that guy off because we just don't want that guy to get injured as well. So then I think probably this guy ends up getting man of the match, but our keeper is also on a 10, so because he has had quite a bit to do. But I definitely can see, because these types of tactics that kind of just hit the ball, I can definitely see the appeal because it's like, you kind of just win a decent amount of matches by default almost because the other team just doesn't know what they're doing basically. Like they don't know how to deal with it. So I can kind of see like the fact that you get a few bonus victories just on that basis, and then also you've got the certain other teams. The opponent won't be online or be a bot team or something where they could just make the change, but they're not there to make it, sort of thing. So, I can definitely see now that AMC is injured. We do have a decent enough backup for that because it's one where we bought 2 players. So, but yeah, so I can definitely see like. The appeal of it. I can also sort of see the frustration of it in a way because like sometimes like this it just works and you just win and it sort of feels super easy, but then if they had to just set up the deep defensive line, it's the obvious fix. But there's other things you can do as well. If a team has just deployed one of the obvious things that counters you, then it could be a super frustrating game as well. Gonna sub on the player that's like, I don't even know if we want to sub him off quite frankly because I think we just leave him on. We sub off someone we don't want to get injured, I think, at this point. And I think that is going to be this guy. So let's just sub him off for the right back. Again, like they easily could have scored a couple goals even here. Like this, so easy. It would have taken so little different from their tactical setup to have just beaten us. Like on the assumption that we wouldn't have adjusted ourselves or changed anything, but if we just left it as is. And instead we just win 3-0 and it just feels like it's an easy victory. And I think that's why like a lot of frustration comes with this type of tactics, because um, they're kind of just inconsistent really on that basis. Like, because they heavily depend. I guess the reason why they're inconsistent isn't because of anything, is because their consistency heavily depends on your opponent's team and their setup and the players that they have, and the fact that a lot of like you're heavily reliant on running into the space and speed and stuff. So even none of this stuff being different, even just their team having two fast centre halves could have just stopped everything. So like when you play a tactic like this, you're just really heavily dependent on like on the other team allowing. I don't know. It's almost like you're dependent on the other team losing to you rather than you beating them, almost. So I feel like, yeah, when you play this type of tactic, it can kind of feel like I can get how it would be more frustrating, let's say, than another type of tactic where you're building up, you're playing some kind of football, and even if you don't win or whatever, like you still create your chances, your game plan still kind of works even when you don't win. Whereas like with this type of tactic, I can kind of see like when you don't win, it kind of just probably feels like it's quite helpless. So anyway, let's just move straight into the next match. I think we got more injuries though, so we got to sort that out. He's out for 7 matches. That's not okay. So whatever. We've got the other AMC, so it's okay from that perspective. But I guess he ends up on the bench because now we've got to think about subbing him out. We do have the MC back, but at this point, I think we're just playing this tactic again, and then we'll bring him back in. Even now, it doesn't even make sense to have him on the bench because this guy's a better bench for the general central midfielder role. The other guy's really just good for the long shots, and he won't be getting forward in this tactic. We've got the defensive unit, the attacking unit, and this guy just covering sort of the central pitch. So we just want him to, pass, tackle, whatever, just be a bit more of an all-rounder. Just like this guy, pass, tackle, whatever, right? So, so we'll just dive straight into it. In a way, I'm kind of hoping that this team is set up to be able to defend against us a little bit, so that we can make some changes and sort of show from the other side of this whole show the other angle to this whole conversation. Like, rather than trying to explain if you're up against this type of team how to stop it, do it from the other angle, do it a way around, which is like, if you're playing this type of tactic and somebody is set up to stop you, what can you then do about that to try to, help yourself to score a bit? So it would be nice to be able to show that. So I'm sure at some point we'll get to show that regardless. Because it kind of looks like our youth team will end up, at least in the immediate term, and the immediate term probably being like the rest of this season at least, like our youth team is probably going to end up playing something like this, some kind of tactic more similar to this, like a more of a direct passing. So I'm sure we're going to get a chance at some point for sure. Like, we're going to have some struggles with the youth team, and well, I say that our youth team did exceptionally well with just the starting team, so maybe not, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll happen at least one match at some point for sure. All right. So they're up the right. That's where we want them to be. Our defensive midfielder makes a tackle, launches the ball straight through, kind of the plan, runs onto it, kind of the plan. Okay, get the corner, happy with that. That was our right midfielder running onto that. So it was kind of like the attack that we sort of wanted. I guess the bit that was missing was like the shot or the pass or something leading, but it's fine. That's what we're looking for, basically. It's a good tell that things are working and that a goal is on the horizon. mean, one of the benefits of this tactic for us at this level is like, because I think on the whole, like our regular tactic creates more chances and scores just as many goals. Similar, you know, like the goal scoring output is similar, but the thing that this tactic actually does better is the defending. It's much more. It has a lot more defensive stability because of that extra. Well, the whole extra fullback, basically, the whole extra defender. So that's actually for us the main sort of strength of this. And it's, you know, you get that extra defender and we still have sufficient sort of firepower, so to speak, at least when they're not set up to defend against us. I mean, this team isn't either. You can see there's just tons of space in behind to pass it on to. That's what it comes down to. Again, it's just that one tactical instruction, basically. They just either need better players, better defenders, or just play a deeper defensive line. If you don't, one of the two, but they don't have either. So anyway, we'll see. Like last match, we could have easily just scored 2 instead of 3. Like that could have just transpired, and we also easily could have conceded 2. So last match, if it plays out similar, like with a little bit less luck on the attacking end and a little bit less luck on the defensive end, it could still, end up quite close. But I kind of don't feel like this team, unfortunately, at the moment, they're feel as like threatening as the team we played in the last match. I don't feel at the moment that it's likely that they're going to score 2 or more goals against us. I mean, that's why you want these. Again, he's got like 80 something aerial ability. It's just why you need that to be a factor, basically. Like when you're recruiting players, the ability to attack and defend on set pieces and just get the odd free goal like that, so to speak. I don't know if it's free. I mean, we still had to earn the corner and whatnot, but you know what I mean. Like the odd goal like that, and to concede the odd goal like that a little bit less often, sort of thing, actually makes a pretty big difference in regards to. It can add up to a meaningful amount of match result differences. I don't suppose in this match, my feel is this isn't going to make any difference to the outcome of the game. I mean, I feel like we're going to win by at least, we're going to win whether or not you can take 1 goal off of our score here, and we're still going to win, basically. But that wouldn't be true always. Obviously, there will be plenty of matches where getting a goal off of a set piece like that just helps you get a win instead of a draw, or a draw instead of a loss, basically. So it's definitely a thing just to bear in mind for your general player recruitment too, and that extends obviously as well, like for the corner taker, having a player that has somebody who's good at delivering wide set pieces and corners and stuff. Like, so you want at least one player with like really, really good crossing. You want at least one player with really, really good long shots to take the set pieces. Like you want ideally at least a few players, or loads of players even, that have like really high aerial ability. And again, a keeper that can deal with it, with the right attributes to deal with it. Like it all just... it would require playing wingers, but honestly I think a really interesting tactic to try to build would be one that doesn't... conceptually interesting would be to build a tactic that doesn't necessarily focus on scoring goals the conventional way. It just focuses on winning a lot of corners and maybe set pieces, for example. So, and then just scoring from those quite with efficiency. So, like, you know what I mean. So you have the wide players to earn corners or whatever, and then so you be specific attributes and players that are capable of earning free kicks quite a lot of flair and whatever. I feel like that'd be an interesting little exercise, and I think you could, and it'd probably be like the secondary plan, to be honest. Like your primary plan is obviously still going to be to try to score goals in regular play, but as a properly leaning heavily into the set pieces, both from the perspective of scoring off them when you do get them, and from the perspective of like trying to earn an abnormally large amount of them. I feel like that could be pretty fun thing to do. But I imagine it would require playing AML and AMR though. I just can't see how you're going to get a large volume of corners without playing them. Even if we catch this, we're going to wait until after it to do the sub, because the guy we want to sub off is like a powerhouse on set pieces. So. So again, to be clear, the reason why I'm swapping them when I do it is because this guy is faster to drift in and better at crossing. So if he drifts wide, then this guy's the one we want to focus more on scoring. So we're more happy for that guy to drift wide, and there's more space on the left than the right for him to naturally drift wide. So that's why we're doing that. Okay, threatening. Another game, an alternate reality. It's 2-1 right now. It's good. It's good enough. I mean, it was. I don't know if to say we're happy to give it up, but like if that's the most dangerous chance that we ever give up in a game, we're happy for that to be true. It's quite dangerous, but it's like, it was still a decently wide angle and stuff like that. So. Alright, and at this point I think we can make another sub at least. I think we sub the... the MR for sure, because we don't want him to get injured, which basically means we're bringing the fullback. So we're way more defensively solid now, and weaker up front. And then I think the other thing is, I guess we sub the striker off. I'm not 100% sure. We've got a bit of time. It's either him, or I guess the MC. He's not particularly quick. I don't think he's slow. I mean, at this point, we're like, yeah. I think that's right. I think we do need to have enough up there to still sustain some kind of threat whatsoever. Otherwise, we might as well just want to change everything anyway. That was kind of a little half chance. Because if we're not going to maintain at least 3 players up there, we took the right winger off, by the way. So now we're talking about it's only 3 up there with the attacks. We had to, yeah. If it wasn't that, then I mean, arguably we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we should have taken the strike off for an MC and then not hoofed it forward anymore. Maybe a mistake was made there, but I'm not too worried about it. I think we'll win anyway, but I think it's still worth acknowledging it. Like, this could have been a bad, like, they had another chance. See that again, like, that could score, right? Like, and they could have scored off that other one. I think the problem here is that we're basically, like, we haven't got enough to maintain the ball when we launch it forwards. We're just typically, like, when this guy gets the ball, what's he supposed to do, kind of thing. He's too isolated. He just loses it, and then yeah, we just don't have enough to maintain the ball. Like, we're just going to lose it straight away. And the forwards that we do have are all slower, so even if we do get the lucky pass that spills through, we probably don't score anyway. And we invited a bit of pressure. It kind of feels maybe like no mistake was made there, but I think it definitely was. Like, potentially that's a game-losing mistake, by the way. Which is worth it. Would have to be unlucky to lose because of it, but at the end of the day, still a mistake. And it could certainly have been the case, for example, like, we got that goal off the set piece as well, so maybe we're even only 1-0 up, and then it definitely, potentially could cost the game. But yeah, I was a little bit relaxed. I do feel like if we were only 1-0 up, we would have thought about that decision more and not have made that mistake. I'm just going to go back to the team to try to explain a little bit why, hopefully, that it was a mistake. So we had, this guy was back here, and this is basically the tactic we had in the end. And then we also had this here for another midfielder. So basically, when we attack, we only have these three guys, so they're just going to lose the ball effectively. And then the three guys that we had, like, none of them were actually fast. The fastest was, he wasn't on anymore, sorry. So the fastest of the three was this sub striker here. So he's 64, not super slow, but not lightning fast. And then the other two that we still had out there was this guy, who's 62. Again, not slow, but not lightning fast. And then the third guy was this guy here, who's 52. So we've gone from basically being like the two strikers up front at like 79 speed and 84 or something, 86, and both of them were off, and instead we just basically had a bunch of slow guys, plus we didn't have this guy on either, who was joining the attack, who also has 78 speed. So we've gone from having quite a lot of speed to none, and one less player. So, and one of the guys we had on was this guy. I don't even think he can pass. So we basically didn't really have like any ability to retain possession, any ability to create a chance, and any ability for players realistically to be able to just to work together to manufacture a chance. They couldn't really do that because, and we also didn't have players that could just score a goal out of nothing all by themselves. And on that basis, it wouldn't have made any difference whether there was two or three players up there. They ain't scoring if there's two, they ain't scoring if there's three, they ain't scoring if there's one. So there should have just been one, basically. And then the other guys, we should have just done a different plan. Just basically, rather than having three guys up here, just have one and had two more midfielders. So just pack the defense and had the midfield, change the tactic to just, just basically set it up like we know we're not going to score. So instead, let's just defend solidly and try to not give up possession of the ball fast. So just retain the possession of the ball a bit more, drain a bit more time. That should have been the plan, not what we did. That's why it was a mistake. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one.